In 2002, actually 2003, I think. Okay, I know, I just checked it. I did check it. It was 2003. There was a film called Phone Booth, starring Colin Farrell. Kiefer Sutherland was in it, and it didn't make waves or become some smash hit. It wasn't a bad movie. I enjoyed it, but fact check me on this. But my understanding is that movie was in development for over a decade, maybe 15 years, something like that. It was in development, finally made it to the screen. Now, mind you, today we live in a generation where there's a whole the new generations coming up. If you say the word phone booth to them, most of them will do a double take and have no idea what you're talking about. Phone booth. So that movie just barely made it. Hello, and welcome to My Daily Walk, the show where a Hollywood guy, that's me, walks around and talks about anything and everything except the things I'm contractually bound to conceal. This show invites you to participate. On Fridays, I read emails. So if you want to email me about anything and everything, suggest some topics, whether you like me or not, I will read it, unless there's profanity. We'll see. That hasn't happened yet. But email me at mydailywalk@thiswaytv.com. If you're new to the show, the format is simple. I just talk off the top of my head for a half an hour once a day, 5 days a week. Each day is a different theme. Mondays are a spiritual meditation. Tuesdays are a reflection on not my childhood, but I've told stories from all different parts of my life. Let me back up. Mondays are a meditation, so it's Monday meditation, a spiritual meditation. Tuesdays are a life lesson. It's me reflecting upon something that happened to me in my life. Wednesdays are topical. I've got a list of topics that interest me and take a stab at it. Thursdays, that's today, is Hollywood-themed Thursday. I talk about my experiences and insights behind the scenes in this town. And Fridays are a free-for-all. I don't pre-plan other than emails. If I get emails that I want to read, I'll read them on Fridays. And otherwise, I just hit record and start talking about whatever is off the top of my head, not pre-planned at all. And then there's the Saturday free stuff, which, if you've been listening, you know it's random times that I want to record. It's not 30 minutes long, usually shorter, but for those diehards who can't get enough of whatever this babbling nonsense is spilling forth from my lips, there you go. All right. Today, I also want to mention that, full disclosure, as of this recording, I have only sent the link to this show to one person. As of this recording, I have not even attempted to market this show or gin up interest or find an audience. I have sent it to one person, and that person is listening. That's Mom, my biggest fan, which is a reality. It's a fact. I have other fans, but she's my biggest fan. And she says that Thursday's theme is her favorite so far. So she's been listening. And she, in an email, I think, or text. Said she likes the Hollywood guy theme. I guess it's, the Thursday theme. So cool, because that's kind of, I like I like this part too. I think being on the inside of an industry that has a reputation for, I don't know, Hollywood has a reputation for all kinds of things, but being behind the veil or on the other side of that threshold and reflecting and shedding some light on to the other side. Look, this is what really goes on over here. That's kind of what this is. I'm kind of pulling the veil back a little bit on Thursdays, I guess. It's a job, it's a career, it's an industry. It's been around a while, and I just happen to have landed here. So I have in the past episodes mentioned development hell. So this is probably, I'll probably revisit this topic again in the future. This is development hell 101. Let's see if I can just outline the basics of what that term means, development hell. Every piece of media that you consume, but let's narrow it down to movies and TV and webisodes or whatever, and any content that is in a visual audio format, pictures and sound, starts somewhere, and they all start in the same place. Every single one of them starts in the exact same place. One person somewhere has an idea. One person says, this might be interesting. That's stage one of development hell. It's not hell yet. It's just, the birthing of an idea. So he says, I have an idea. This might be interesting. And then stage two. The idea is shared. So the person that comes up with the idea says, hey, ideally and usually someone this person trusts, and maybe it's not an industry person, maybe it's just somebody, maybe it's a family member or a friend. Hey, I had this idea. What do you think? That's stage two. If this is kind of a critical stage, if that random, could be sitting and having coffee and chatting about any number of things, and then you decide, well, let's share this idea, see what feedback I get, and that initial feedback can kill it or give it further life. The person says, interesting. What about this? And what about that? Like the first round of notes. That's where the first round of notes happens. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit. So an idea gets some traction. It always starts with one person, and if that person has collaborators or other people that buy in, that's always good, because one person pushing an idea will only go so far. It's the buy-in, and the buy-in from others is how a project moves forward. And so, depending on what the project is, and depending on the person. So, if that person that has the idea has already produced, 7 TV shows and 4 movies, well, their idea is going to get a lot more traction a lot more quickly. If that person lives in Nebraska and doesn't even have even a tangential relationship with anybody that works in the industry, and they have an idea, well, it used to be that person write it down and move to Hollywood. It's the only way to get it done. But today you have the internet, and so it could happen, and it does happen, where people in any remote part of the world can have ideas, but it takes a lot longer and a lot more sweat equity to get something moving in the right direction. So let's fast forward to, say, a script has been written. That's a huge milestone. There's a lot that goes into before that. A lot that has to happen before you get to that stage. That in itself, getting a script written, can be a multi-year process to get the rights to the story, if it requires that, if you need the rights to find the right writer, because often people have ideas but they aren't writers, and the problem, a lot of times it happens where a person has an idea and thinks they are a writer and thinks they can be a writer and writes it and is so committed to their version that the idea dies right there. I mean, often that happens. People think they've got it, they're going to be the writer. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm there. I've written stuff. Well, let's not go in that direction. I've written drafts and gotten really good feedback. So feedback from people who are very successful. And so I am not to boast, but apparently I've got some ability when it comes to writing. But in general, writing is very, very difficult, and there's not a lot of good writers. It's just not. But people are self-deluded, especially in this town. But there are awful scripts that get made, okay? So that's a tangent. There are just terrible scripts that get made. And that sometimes is the case where the person who had the idea also had some means of getting it done. Maybe that person has a bunch of money and a couple contacts in Hollywood and throws money at it, or somehow is able to get money, and the script may be awful, but you're able to, attach somebody in. The script is critical, but often it's just not prioritized in a production. So awful movies get made all the time, and often it's they cut corners in the wrong place. Don't ever cut corners on the script. That's so development. This is all development. We haven't even gotten to the hell part, right? The hell part. So a script gets written, then people can read it and figure out what your idea is. Because if you explain something, you can only explain it so far. But if it's a TV show or a movie, you got to develop the characters and the plot, the story, the arc, each character's goal, etc. And there's structure to it. You got to do. But once you get to that point, then it joins this huge pool of other scripts that are out there floating around and sitting on shelves. I mean, there are just piles and piles and piles of scripts in thousands and thousands of offices all around Hollywood. Some of them have actually been optioned, which means somebody with money, an individual or a production company or a network or a studio, pays an amount of money for the exclusive rights to that script for a period of time. It's like a 2-year, usually it's a 2-year and $10,000, or I don't know. Maybe my numbers are outdated, but those are numbers that I seem to recall. When you option a script, you can do a 1-year option, a 2-year option, something like that, which means that company now has the rights to that script or that story. Well, some people option scripts that are competitors to something they're already working on. Like, let's make sure this doesn't get made, so we'll pay that guy a little bit and shelve it. That is, well, that's the other end of development, Hal. Then your project is completely pulled out of development, and it just sits there. That's the other end. That's like the end. No, it's not the end, because it sits there for a while, and then the option, if they want to renew the option, congratulations, writer, you get paid a little bit more in another year or two, but your story's not going to get made. Most ideas that even make it to script form don't get made. The vast majority do not get made. But here's one of the things that happens is, and this is maybe at the heart of development hell, it is the notes process. So getting back to Phone Booth, I don't know the history of that movie. I just heard that it went through development hell. It took that the person that wrote it, or maybe it was a director that found it. I don't know who was pushing the idea. Sometimes it's the writer, sometimes it's somebody who finds it, that loves it, an actor or a director that just, it's a passion project for them, and they dig in and they get involved in the process. They give notes on it. They try to find money. They try to find other actors or other like producers to attach to it. So phone booth is a high concept. I mean, that's another tangent. Maybe I'll do an episode on that expression, high concept. I know I've talked about it before. Low budget and high concept, those are two important things. If you're an unestablished writer, if you've never made a movie, nobody knows your name, and you write a $200 million epic period piece, that movie's not going to get made. Certainly not as your first one. But your reputation, a person's resume is pretty much the first thing anybody looks at in this town. What have they been in? What have they done? Who is this person? Why should I even read one word of this script? Okay, so this is just a hint to anybody who wants to break in that regard. If you think you're going to write something that's going to be incredible, high concept, low budget, that helps you. If somebody sees a script and it's like, go up on the front with a post-it, this one will be $100 million, and the name doesn't register with anyone, they may not even open the script. It's pass. It's there's readers. Production companies they have a staff of readers. Somebody who knows and understands story structure, and it's basically the first filter. Script gets into the hand of a production. If you get your script across the desk of a reader, you have succeeded. You have succeeded beyond the vast majority of writers. It's one thing to write a good script. I mean, that is virtually miraculous, to write a good, compelling script. But getting that script into somebody's hands, where their eyes will fall upon it and they'll read past page 1, that's the first goal, and then page 10, and get them past page 10, that's the next huge hurdle. So coming up with an interesting idea and getting a good script are huge hurdles, and then getting that script just into somebody's hands, your whole hope of your future relies upon some random reader that might be in a bad mood that day, or might have personal objection to some of the content in your story. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So, but say that reader reads it and likes it enough to not stamp pass, right? Most of them get a pass on this, and then there's consider. That's the next level. Consider, this wasn't great writing, but the concept is good. I liked, if the person reads your script and the writing is not the greatest, but the idea was compelling enough to get them all the way through it, then they might stamp consider. And most scripts that get a consider don't get made. So the vast majority get passes. The next largest batch is the consider. And then the what you want is, what's the word? Is it recommend? Recommend? Oh, shoot. It's pass, consider, and the best one is like, you should read this, and they pass it up to their boss. Yeah, this one's worth reading. It's already, the writing's good, the idea's there. Let's do it. Let's go to the next step. So what the next step is, sometimes the reader themselves would do the first round of notes. All right, this is good, and the reader, sometimes, some places just hire readers to cram through stacks of scripts. Some have readers that are a little more involved in the process, and they'll give their initial notes back to the writer. This is development hell. So, like with the story Phone Booth, high concept. It's a guy that answers a phone in a phone booth in this alleyway in a city, and he answers the phone. That's Colin Farrell. Answers the phone, and it's like this threat, like, if you leave that phone, if you hang up this call, so-and-so is going to get shot. I have a sniper rifle or something. Like, these innocent people are going to die unless my demands are met. And so this guy's stuck on the phone, and it's like, well, how do I can't hang up the call and contact someone else, and So it's a suspense thriller all in one location, high concept, low budget. But the problem is, I don't know what the problem is. Maybe it was the script. They were just needing to revise the script or not getting the right person attached, and time was ticking away. And what was happening is the concept of a phone booth was working its way out of our culture. The entire concept of a phone booth was going by the wayside because of advancements in technology. And so, lo and behold, they did it. They got it across the finish line. They found the money, they found the actors, they found the director, they got it made. And it's a decent movie, but boy, development hell almost killed that script. Almost killed that script once and for all. It never would have gotten made. There it is. Actually, now I want to go back and watch that movie. So the notes process can just be the worst. And there's another movie, the movie Ghost. Okay, so Whoopi Goldberg, why am I drawing a blank? Oh, Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. So my understanding, again, fact check me on this, but that movie was originally written as a straight thriller with a male lead. And Patrick Swayze is the co-lead, I guess, in it. But my understanding was that the Whoopi Goldberg part was a male, and that was the lead. I think something like that. Well, a thriller, supernatural thriller with a male lead. That I don't know if it was Whoopi Goldberg came across the script and said, I like this, I'm going to play this part, and we need to make it funny. What could have happened is somebody got the script and, without even Whoopi Goldberg being attached, said, yeah, I like this, but I've seen 1,000 stories like this, a thriller with this guy, blah, blah, blah. What if we make it a female lead and make it a comedy? Right? You can get notes like that. You've got a script that you think is this, and you get a note back. You can get one note back. Well, let's do it as a comedy, or let's change the gender of the protagonist. You know how long it can take to rewrite a script? Like, if the script is good in the first place and you get one note like that, it can destroy anything that was good about your script already. Or it can enhance it. And you as the writer have to be ready. If you really want to do it, you have to be ready to jump. If this person that's giving you notes is successful and knows what they're talking about, you should take it. You should take their notes seriously. And look, Ghost was a hit. And I would say because of Whoopi Goldberg and because of the comedic, it wasn't exactly, it wasn't a full-on comedy, but it had a much more comedy than the original draft. And those factors actually did enhance the film. So, development hell is sucking it up and taking notes, getting notes and acting upon them. And it can be difficult. Like I have a script that I've done a couple drafts of that I love, and actually kind of got me my mentor, and he gave me notes on it, and they weren't those kind of notes where you change the whole thing. They weren't notes that required a complete, go back to square one. They were definitely notes that enhance it, but I haven't done them yet, and it's a while since he gave me those notes. The reason I haven't done those notes yet is I moved on. I've got other projects that, especially project number 1 that I'm working on, it has, it's moving in the right direction. And so if you have one project that's moving, it means all of your projects are potentially moving. So that one, I'll get to those notes eventually. But that's also part of development. People can only focus on one thing at a time, generally. I mean, especially in the creative process, when you have to put so much into something yourself. If you're the first person or the only person pushing a project, prioritize. Prioritize. Don't be scattershot. You can have lots of irons in the fire and projects on the back burner and side burner, but get focused and push on the one that's most promising, I guess. That one's promising, and it is high concept. It turned out to be not low budget though. So but the notes process is really development hell, mostly. rewriting scripts. There can be good scripts that once a producer or a production company get involved, somebody says, hey, I'm going to take this on as my project. Somebody that's, on the team that came up with the money and says, well, I think it should be like this. The leadership of a project changes multiple times. First it's pushed by the writer, maybe, then a director likes it and it's pushed by the director, and then a production company says, all right, we'll hire you, we'll get started on this, and then somebody with pull at the production company says, well, let's do this, let's do that. And sometimes it's people that don't know anything about storytelling, but they're in a position of power, and they're just like, I think this, I think that, and well, we're the one paying the bill, so do it. And so lots of decisions are made like that, and that's development hell. Hell. But things get made. And so, where was I going with that? Well, some things die in development hell, and some things go through hell. It's like the valley of the shadow of development hell. The great thing about that, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I don't stay in it. I don't die there. It's a temporary state of being. And so development hell very often is a temporary state of being. Many projects die there, but it's about the people pushing the projects. And so I'm not in development hell. I'm in, I guess, development purgatory is a concept. To me, that's the same thing as development hell. It's just like waiting. What's worse than that? That's hell. But there is a development heaven, and I have that sense. I've mentioned that before, that the project I'm working on, even though it's going slower than I hope, some people would look at this scale of how this process has gone and say, wow, that was quick. How did you get the rights to that? And how did you get that first investor? And so some people say it's moving quickly. For me, it's just moving too slow, but I can't make it move any faster. There are just certain things that have to happen in a certain order. That's development, and it's not hell because I'm enjoying every second of it, and it's measurable, or I can point to evidences that would support my contention that it wouldn't be as good as it is now if I had done it a year ago. There's information and things that have happened and insights that I couldn't even have come across. For example, and I probably mentioned this before, but there's a piece of translation that I needed, something, I was like, what does this say? What did this guy write at this time? And it was critical even in starting the script. I couldn't have even started the script properly until I had that information. Well, I couldn't get that translation until I had a translator, and I couldn't have a translator until I had somebody to pay the translator. I couldn't have a translator get paid until a contract was agreed to, and then I couldn't get the translation until the guy spent the time actually translating it. So that's just part of development, it's one of the parts of it. And it wasn't the case where, I need this, and I have to wait a long time. It actually kind of organically happened where, I don't know how to start this. I should have this page translated. Let's see. And I sent it off, and a week or so later I got it back, and I'm like, that's it. That's how this starts. And I didn't realize that's how it was going to start until I read the words translated. So I wasn't waiting on something impatiently. It just happened at the time that it needed to happen. It just happened. So there it is. Development Hell 101, I guess. I shared some insights. Anybody who's interested in maybe crossing the threshold and working in this town, I'm just speaking from experience. There's other people have different experiences, and some people can maybe come up with examples that counter what I've said, but well, in the counsel of many, what is that? We should all listen to counsel if we want to do something right in our lives. So, thank you for joining me on My Daily Walk. Email me. Have a nice day.